This week's recipe demo is
Kabocha pot pie, and it's going to be made in 4 easy steps.
Let's get started. So step number 1 is we are going to cut open the kabocha squash, and while I do so, Sarah's going to tell you a little bit about it.
The kabocha squash is a red squash.
And really easy to cut.
It's kind of intense. It's really dry inside, so I kind of like it, but if you don't like kind of like a dry squash, this might not be the one for you. Really, you can use any like round squash for this recipe.
Okay, so I just finished cutting it. I just cut all the way around the outside. Now we're going to scrape out the seeds. Okay, so now we've got both halves emptied out, got the seeds emptied out.
And Peter took out some of the inside. You're going to want to make sure that whatever squash you use, if you use the kabocha, that you get a real round one, and so that there's a bowl inside. These come in all crazy shapes and sizes, so you just want it to be round. If you don't have kabocha, you could use acorn squash. Those usually have really good round insides for stuffing. So
to make a nice bowl.
To make a nice bowl. Alright, and so Peter's going to do a little coconut oil inside.
Step 2 is the coconut oil. So I like to just take some coconut oil in my hand and I just go around the inside with my fingers. Divide it up between the two. This is probably about a teaspoon. It goes a long way, so you'd be surprised. And a little bit goes a long way. This will keep it from getting stuck to the sheet, and it'll also give it a little bit of sweet coconut flavor deliciousness.
Deliciousness. I've actually done it without the coconut oil, and it definitely tastes better when you use the coconut oil. So I definitely recommend not skipping this step.
Okay, so now we're just going to go ahead and just lay them flat on the baking sheet.
And we're going to bake them at 375 for 35 minutes. I think we're going to do 35 for these ones because it's a little thick, the inside, but play around with your oven. So we're going to go finish this and we'll be back for step number 2.
Sounds good.
Step number dos.
Step number dos. We're going to make the sauce
This
now.
is the best part because it's the creamy goodness that's inside the pot pie. My favorite.
Main ingredient, macadamia nuts.
Yep. Raw, and you're going to want to soak them. We already soaked these, just that way they get more of the water and they're more creamy. If you don't have a lot of time to soak them for as long as you can. From there, we're going to do miso.
Do some miso.
We got a tablespoon in there.
Do a tablespoon.
And that's going to add salty goodness.
And then we're going to add some vegetable broth.
Veggie broth. And then
Some seasonings.
Yep, I have some garlic. So I'm going to do some fresh garlic. Kind of cut it a little bit, pre-cut it. 'Cause sometimes the food processor doesn't like chop it all up. And then oregano. And then some pepper. Alright. Oops. Get off the top.
Get it off the top there. Okay.
So this part gets a little bit crazy because it's nuts. I have a towel just for backup. Because sometimes
it wants to spray out the edges here.
With like thick nuts. So here we go, guys.
All hands on deck. Okay.
So you're gonna want to make sure all the nuts are all blended up. You might have to do it a few times. How do we look in there, Pete?
It looks really good. Is that the consistency you were thinking?
Yep, that looks good. You could, this is a little bit thick, So you could blend it some more. I think if you put it in a Vitamix or like a Blendtec high-speed blender, it'd probably do a better job. I don't know why. Sometimes I like making sauces in the food processor. Just because, like, if it's not a lot of liquid, then it, like, gets stuck at the bottom. So, to each your own. This will totally work.
Okay, so now we're done with the sauce. We're going to go ahead and pour this in our bowl here.
Yep.
And then we're going to move on to step number 3. Okay, now we're moving on to step number 3. We're going to be heating up the veggies, doing a little saute, getting them warmed up and softened to be able to mix with the sauce that we just did. And then we're going to take that and we're going to put it inside the squash.
Yippee! Alright, so we're going to do a little bit of vegetable broth. Put that in there. And then for vegetables, we have onion, carrots, mushrooms, and chard. One vegetable that I wish we could put in here is peas. Because I feel like pot pies and peas are just like a match made in heaven. But,
however,
Mr. Hagstrom,
yours truly,
is allergic to peas.
I'm allergic to peas.
So there will be no peas in ours.
It's a long story, I won't get into it now, but
Maybe another time.
just don't take all those peas for granted.
But if you guys want to add peas to yours, you should, and you should tell us how it goes. So yeah, now what you're doing is you're just sauteing the vegetables. You're gonna want the carrots to get a little softer. They don't have to be super soft because you are gonna continue to cook them in the squash. But you don't want them really hard, and you want the mushrooms to be sauteed and the greens to start to wilt. All right, the veggies are softened, and now it's time to combine step 2 and 3.
Okay, so
Got it? Our pan is like huge. You want me to hold it?
it's pretty ginormous.
Peter's been working out though, so he can handle it.
Should not be a problem.
When I lift the pan, my arm's like shaking. Like, don't drop it.
Don't try this at home. Oh, I mean, of course, you have to try it at home.
And so this is going to be the filling. It's going to have like that creamy sauce that you're used to having in pot pies. And then it's going to be the vegetables too. Okay. And you're just going to give that a stir.
Stir it up.
And then as soon as the squash is done, we're going to stuff it.
Okay, now the squash is done. And it smells delish. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to take our veggies with the cream sauce in it, and we're just going to go ahead and just fill up the insides of the squash.
When Peter is done filling those up, then I'm going to make little biscuits and put them on top of the squash. I do have a little confession. We've actually never cooked the biscuits on the squash. So we're going to see how it goes, and you guys will get to watch. But if you want like a more safe bet, you could cook these and then cook the biscuits separate and then put the biscuits on top. So that's a little more safe. This is a little more fun though. So we're going to give it a try. I'm going to roll up my sleeves. Oh, that looks beautiful. Can you guys see how pretty this looks? Are you going to be able to get all the stuffing in there? Or?
Looks like we're going to have a little bit extra.
Maybe there's like a little bit more you put in there.
Okay.
That one's going to be mine.
Fill in the hole there.
Alright. Yum. These look great.
Good luck.
These look great just like this. So you could always stop there. But we're going to keep going. You want to make some biscuits too?
Sure.
Okay. So you're just going to make your biscuits. However, if you're doing this recipe, then just make little small ones and just place them on top. Try to make them all the same size so they cook at the same time. Alright guys,
Okay,
so
yeah.
we got the biscuits on top, right? And now, woo! It's kind of heavy. Messy hands. And now we're going to go put these back in the oven for 18 minutes. Ready, set, go! Okay.
Oh boy, you guys are in for a treat.
They're done, and the biscuits on top totally work. Cooked all the way through. Look great.
Fabulous. Okay, 3 reasons why you should make this recipe. Number 1, this is the healthiest pot pie recipe you will ever see.
Number 2, no ramekin required.
And number 3, no dairy.
So, go make this recipe. You won't be sorry.